Aquifers, that's the topic for Honors 317, Essentials for Life, Air and Water. So aquifers, why they're so important to us. And in this video, we're going to focus on the Ogallala Aquifer, which is the aquifer that goes from up there in Nebraska all the way down into Oklahoma. Our nation's breadbasket, when we think about where the corn and many of our grains are produced, it comes from that region. And where do they get their water from? And the water they get comes from way down under the surface, from water that drop by drop made up the Ogallala Aquifer over millions of years. And as we continue to use it, and we've gotten better at extracting water from it, what does that mean for U.S. agriculture? What does that mean for people that live in that area? So I'm going to pull up a clip. This clip is actually titled Pump Dry. It was produced by USA Today, and there's some other media sources that covered it. So let's look at this clip from Pump Dry.
Irrigation is a good thing. Over the last 3 or 4 generations, we've just overdone a good thing.
As we pump water on our crops for irrigation, we're constantly drawing from that like a straw. So basically the water situation that we're in currently is we've been drawing from this aquifer, this source of water, for several decades now, and now we're down to the very bottom.
We're getting down to the bottom of that huge pool of water that in the 50s and 60s we thought was inexhaustible.
In some locations, the groundwater has basically disappeared.
If you're looking at your car gas tank and your gauge, we're clear down to the E.
When Grandpa was drilling wells, you find big gravel or rocks like this, you were going to find a really good well. And now it just now the only water it finds is a couple 3 feet at the very bottom of the well that the pumps can't effectively access anymore.
We're in Sublette.
All right, so they have since re-drilled a lot of the wells so that they go deeper. So the older wells have went dry. And we're still able to get water in that region of the United States, but there are still ongoing concerns as they've gotten to even their deeper wells. So we're going to watch the next clip about what's going on with their deeper wells. Okay, so now we're watching the clip on the deeper wells from Pump Dry.
So this is a good crop here, but it only lasts as long as the water's here. And what disturbs me this morning, checking on this irrigation well, is it's showing signs of weakening. When I checked the water there, I found air suspended in the water, and that means that down at the bottom the pump is starting to gasp air, like when you finish a soda with a straw out of a glass. Right at the end you get that sucking sound. Well, this is the very beginning of that sucking sound, and this will last another 5 or 10 years, but not even at the production rate that we're at here today. So it's just a question of how much time is left. I suppose we should let ourselves enjoy a good crop while it's here, but we can't lose sight of the long term. And that's what I worry about for Jared, Jayden and Jessie, James and Reese, Ryan and Noah, Ian. Those GARETSONs will never see this. But thinking about Jared and the challenges that his generation faces, that's what leaves you gasping for air. Kind of leaves you at a loss for
what to do next.
So that's some pretty powerful stuff that's happening in that particular video. You see the impact of these water shortages on a very personal level, and right now that's some folks in the agriculture industry that are experiencing it. So we really have to figure out some better ways of doing things more sustainably, and if we don't, the consequences could be a bit more dramatic, because it wouldn't just be the GARETSON family experiencing these challenges. So one thing that we have to continue to do, and I'm going to pull up the slides here again, so we have to continue to monitor our precipitation and support precipitation monitoring. So there have been cuts and threats of cuts to entities like the National Weather Service and the U.S. Geologic Survey. USGS monitors a lot of the stream flow. The Weather Service, many of us know why that's important from an emergency perspective, but also monitoring just rainfall over time. The Army Corps of Engineers, they do a lot of monitoring of our rainfall around our dams and for controlling the amount of water that's in our large rivers for transportation. And it's really important for us to be able to continue to model water storage, not just for flood control, but also for monitoring it so that we have enough water for sewage treatment practices and ensuring that people downstream have water for irrigation or drinking. So precipitation across the United States, you can see less than 5 inches of rainfall fall in that part of the Southwest, Death Valley, in that region. There are still people that live there. Not many, but still some. But even on the coastline, when you get into like San Diego and Los Angeles, you're looking at 5 to 15 inches of rainfall. There's a little bit of rain that's a little heavier that falls in these mountains. You're looking at 30 to 35 inches of rain. You have the Sierra Nevada. You also have a lot of rainfall in upstate California. So you're looking at 60 to 70 inches. But even though there's a lot of rainfall up there, not all of it is easily accessible to the population, and there's ecosystems that depend upon it. So there's trade-offs that got to happen. You can see the area of the United States that does get the most water, and there's more than 180 inches that fall in this little region near Seattle. So parts of Western Oregon and parts of Seattle actually are temperate in terms of temperature. They're temperate rainforest. And whenever you're over 90 inches of rainfall, consistently over 90 inches of rainfall, some people would classify that as a rainforest. And these regions have more than 90 inches of rainfall, some spots upwards to 180. When we look in the southeastern United States, just southeast or just south of the Great Smoky Mountains in the western North Carolina and the kind of Cullowhee area, not far from Cherokee, North Carolina, that's where we have the most rainfall. And in some years, it exceeds 90 centimeters or 90 inches. And in some years, they too could potentially act like a rainforest, but they're just below the annual values to be viewed as a rainforest. These areas are some of our most biodiverse ecosystems in North America, this one included. So this area is one of the most biodiverse areas on the planet. All right, so we have a lot of rainfall that happens in this area of the world, so we're lucky, but this region and west, man, it's sparse for rainfall, and we have to be very, very careful in how we develop those areas. Look at where Las Vegas sits. Look at the whole state of Nevada. I mean, the whole state barely even gets 5 inches of rain a year, if that. So they are very much dependent upon the rain that comes out of the Colorado River Basin. And here's where the Colorado River Basin is. All that rain that starts in the Colorado and makes it flow is just this little bit of green, this speck here. That's what forms the Grand Canyon, and that's what they all pull from. So it's really not a lot of water falling from the skies for the West. So we have to be mindful of that, and we have to encourage innovation. All right, so that's all on the precipitation and hydrology with respect to water shortages. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here and start up a new one on how we do runoff and measure runoff. So we will stop now.